have seen the future of horror. His name is Clive Barker. Hellraiser. Beyond any terror you have imagined. A nightmare.
No.
Unlike anything you have witnessed, is born. Because within these walls, the unholy is unleashed. Hellraiser, a film by Clive Barker.
We'll tear your soul apart.
So Hellraiser, 1987, written and directed by Mr. Clive Barker, based on the story The Hellbound Heart, I think from the second volume of the Books of Blood. I might be wrong about which volume, but from the Books of Blood.
Yes.
I've been watching a lot of retro reviews of Siskel and Ebert on YouTube when I got some time to fill, and I saw them review Hellraiser, and he just fucking hated it. And I actually looked up his print review of it.
Yeah.
And I don't always agree with Ebert. I had a good measure of respect for the man, but I don't always agree with him. But
I will say he's a good writer, yeah.
Absolutely. I had one of the times when reading his reviews, I couldn't believe how completely he missed it.
Yeah.
In the movie, like reading it, he gave it a 0.5-star review.
Yeah.
He quoted this famous Stephen King quote, which basically launched Clive Barker on this side of the ocean, saying, "I have seen the future of horror, and it is Clive Barker."
Yeah.
And in the review, Ebert says, maybe he was talking about a different Clive Barker. He's like really shitty about it. And he just takes the plot at its most rudimentary point, which there's this woman had an affair with her husband's brother.
Yeah.
He's come back to life, but in order to get his flesh and form back, he needs to take victims.
Yeah.
So she is seducing people, bringing them to the house so he can kill them. And it's that element of the story is kind of familiar. It's sort of somewhere between vampiric or serial killer familiarity. And that was the focus of his hatred and energy in the review.
Yeah.
Which is completely subtracting all of the imagination, all of the lurid sort of adult eroticism and themes that I talked about in the introduction.
Yeah.
And the really solid execution of this low-budget horror movie by a first-time writer, really.
Yeah.
Clive Barker had done some work on the stage, and he'd been involved in other horror productions. Lee and I have talked about Rawhead Rex in the past.
Yeah.
But this was his first movie.
Yeah.
And I would not have guessed that this was somebody's first movie.
Yeah.
It's also his best movie. As a director, it is easily his best movie.
Yeah.
I think maybe it gets tougher when more money's involved and everything like that. But yeah, if you look at Hellraiser at its bare bestial minimum, it's sex and violence. There's a bunch of people lured to this demonic creature who eats them, steals people's skins, and but to dismiss it as just this sort of wanton, violent slasher movie and nothing else, all due respect, Mr. Ebert, I think you decided you didn't like this movie before you sat down. That's certainly how it feels. And like I've said so many times in the podcast with these types of movies, if you go in fighting with the movie, you're gonna win. I think that this is a very strong movie, and it's one of the movies that I liked since I was a kid, but unlike the way I liked Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, this wasn't fun. This was weirdly more serious and scary. And that's why I liked it, and that's why it wasn't just so scary, but it had this sort of respect. I didn't go to it again and again because I wanted it to stay scary.
Yeah.
And I've always been a big fan of Hellraiser, and watching it again with you the day before yesterday, It didn't change my mind.
Nope.
I have some problems with it that I'll get into, but this is just where I want to start.
Yeah.
If it looks like it's something you've seen before, it both is and isn't.
Yeah.
So don't judge it by its cover. That's where I'm starting.
Yeah. Well, I think the film struck a huge nerve with Ebert. I've kind of noticed that where films that I agree with you that he is completely wrong. This is rumor, and who knows whether this is true or not, but rumor has it that Mr. Ebert, and I guess this also goes into the question, what's your thoughts on S&M, Larry?
I mean, to each their own. It's not, for me, it's not my thing particularly, but if you're into some kinky stuff, you're into some kinky stuff.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I don't really have that much interest in what's going on in your bedroom.
Yeah.
As long as it's between two consenting adults, I say have fucking at it.
Yeah. Rumor has it that Mr. Ebert was no stranger to a more exotic, rougher fare in his sexual life. There's a story that people went over to his house and they saw one of those swing chairs, or one of those swings.
I don't know how this became about Ebert's sex
Well,
life.
no. The reason why I say that is because part of what is Hellraiser is this fetish and desire for S&M.
The pain, pleasure,
and sex.
Yeah.
I can understand it a little bit without going too much into detail myself. So I just kind of got the impression, I think that might have just really kind of struck a nerve with Ebert.
It's vilifying,
Yeah. I'm pontificating or guessing and stretching at this point. Who knows? Maybe I'm trying to unravel the mind of a dead critic, and that's not my nature.
But I bet you, I don't know this, but I think it's a fair assumption that the, black leather culture, for lack of a better name, is into the Hellraiser franchise for maybe different reasons than we are.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just sort of the danger thing. Like, yes, there's sort of pain and quote-unquote violence implied in the sex act. It's a penetrative act, and first time women have sex, it's painful. Yes, I understand all of the things, these deep psychological things that are being played with. And it's so funny the way other horror movies don't acknowledge that. But sex is so profoundly psychological.
Yeah.
This relationship between the two people having the affair, Frank and Julia. Yeah. Julia and Frank are sort of the big bads of the movie.
They are the villains of the piece. They are. But that's important to state here.
Their passion for each other seems like really when there's sex, it's just this intense sex, and she's excited by the violence and the killing. She's horrified by seeing him without the skin, but so excited that he's back that all of these mixed soup of emotions, bad and good, all at once. Yeah. That's where I get to it. The whips and chains stuff, to me, that's the hellscape punishment aspect of it. Yeah. That wouldn't work for me. In a way, it would be nice for you if you were into that and they, brought out the chains and the whips to torment you, and you just had this big shit-eating grin in your face. But no, I think it's about torment for me.
Yeah.
But, if you want to make it about something else, I'm sure you could. If nothing else, these movies are wide open for interpretation.
Oh yes, I mean that. One thing that I love about just the genre of horror, and it's not just film, it's literature, it's art, is that the horror genre, and it's not the only genre that does this, but topics that are taboo are explored in the horror genre, whether it's the psychology of rape, or in Jeepers Creepers, and this is one thing that I wanted to defend with it. I mean, in a lot of ways, that artist is talking about his own huge, awful demonic flaws, and to try and examine subjects that a lot of people just don't want to touch, and explore in the area of fantasy, not physically acting it out, but putting out in a creative mode, I think ultimately is healthy.
Related back to Hellraiser, what does it tap into for you specifically?
Well, I think if anything, Clive Barker was raised in a pretty deep Catholicism was he raised in, or?
I believe some form of the Christian faith. In a lot of his books, Christian iconography takes a real beating.
Yeah.
He loves shattering a stained glass window or blood coming out of a statue of Mary, or he really likes to stick it to visually upsetting imagery towards that. Yeah. So I've interpreted that as being something personal. Yeah.
Well, and it's so consistent in a lot of his work, so I think that's a pretty fair observation.
Yeah.
I think exploring the line, sometimes the thin line between pleasure and pain, is also like some people just don't even want to touch that.
How dare you, sir?
So to examine S&M, even though we now live in a society where 50 Shades of Grey was a best-selling series, and a lot of housewives or whomever got all excited about it, it's becoming more and more talked about. But you and I remember there was a time and age where homosexual sex, we won't even talk about that.
I mean, we're aware that it exists.
Yeah, but now if you want to physically see it, all you have to do is type a few things on the computers and and there's literature, there's all kinds of things.
Fear of their own sexuality. I would like to get it back to Hellraiser if we can.
Sorry.
But I would say fear of your own desires.
Yes.
That's what I thought you were leading to here.
Okay.
So I'll go there.
There's that, but there's also there are some people where it's never enough. There's always stories of the wealthy people, whether like the game or something else, where they've accumulated so much stuff, so much experience, but it's never enough.
Yeah.
And eventually it will be. There's those forbidden desires or pleasures, as it's talked about, where you've gone too far. Like, you didn't need to explore this.
Well, it's the paradoxes of life, right? We are most frightened of, in some ways, the things that we want.
Yeah.
Either because we won't get them, or that getting them, it won't be what we really hoped it to be.
Yeah.
And being scared of that, the forbidden fruit being the thing that you'll be obsessed with.
Yeah.
You can't have it, so you must have it.
Yeah.
That's very Hellraiser. I think going to some of the weaker aspects of the film, Claire Higgins, the actress who's playing Julia, is to be a temptress, a seductress. And I think what you needed here, and I think she's a good actress, I think she plays the obsessive part very well.
Yeah.
And she plays like her reaction to the situation without going over into crazy town. Like, her performance is good. Yeah. But I needed to believe her as an intense sexual lure. Yeah. And I just don't. Yeah. In this movie, I don't necessarily see what Frank sees in her until he's already been killed and she's, doing anything he asks. Yeah. And until he completely turns around and betrays her, she is all on board everything he does. And I think that Frank, that's played by Shan Chapman, might be giving the weakest performance in the movie.
It's very one note. Like, he is evil.
It's no matter what line comes out of his mouth, he wants you to know that he's a bad guy. Yeah. And I find that kind of distracting.
Yeah. Well, it's Snidely Whiplash performance.
Yeah.
I'm the villain, see?
Andrew Robinson, who plays Larry, a character named Larry who is supposed to be likable, if maybe a little bit pathetic. Yeah. Has got living this sexless, totally whipped life with this, being cuckolded by this woman. Yeah. I like that actor, and again, it was against type.
Scorpio from Dirty Harry.
He was the villain of Dirty Harry, and he was not meek and mild in any way. But it's always been a disappointment the way that character dead ended, or if his character must have dead ended, that we didn't get to see his final moments. Yeah. When he, truly saw for a brief second who his wife was and what was in I don't know if I feel it was deliberate. That wasn't a missing scene or anything like that. That was a choice that they made. But for me, I would like that. The best performance is Ashley Lawrence. Yep. And we're going to see more of her in the movies going forward. Yeah. And it's a lot to ask because she comes in sort of a grounded daddy's girl, believing in the world and what she sees. Yeah. And the scene where she sees the Cenobites cracks her world open and almost her psyche open in half.
Well, I don't blame her.
Of course. And this is something that is almost always better achieved in Barker's written work than in the films. Yeah. And this goes to the H.P. Lovecraft thing too. When you see something that so defies your idea of the world and reality and your sort of compass of your barometer to the world is completely shattered by walking into the wrong one and seeing a skinless man wearing a suit. Like, what? She plays that really well, because there's a couple scenes in this movie where she has just lost her mind. She pulls it back, she gets it back together, but it's really hard to do that without drowning it into hysterics. And again, really young in her acting career. I think she gives the performance of the movie.
No, she's very, very good. I never really saw it as a false note. There's a couple of scenes where her, inexperience might come through a little bit, but she's pretty strong. Barker is a good director, and it feels at times like very much a theatrical play in certain elements as well. There are some immortal lines that come out of Hellraiser that, hip-hop artists have sampled it.
Well, if it's in hip-hop, it must be immortal.
Yeah, well, okay, fair enough. But just to show you that how respected and loved Hellraiser is within the horror film community, will tear your soul apart. You say that line and like any horror fan will nod their head. No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Yeah. Well, and you get the feeling like Pinhead, when he's not torturing people, must be reading like philosophy and Shakespeare and shit. Like
we have such wonderful sights to show you.
Psychologically on point to know what to say to just really trouble people.
I enjoy also the Faustian kind of element to this. Like, this is, once again, people have made deals with the devil and they're trying to get out of it. It's also in the second one, they do get away from it somewhat by the third and definitely the fourth. But I always love a good Faust tale, and I thought Hellraiser is very much that.
But you don't necessarily have to know that you're making the deal, is the catch here. Usually it's some personal flaw that will lead you to your fate, or the naivety to think that you can outsmart the devil. Like, anybody who thinks that they got the devil beat, they're gonna be taught a hard lesson. But in this one, you can just find this puzzle box and fuck around with it, not knowing what it is, and your life is completely undone.
But I sort of get the idea that the people that are seeking out the box kind of do. Like Frank, I think somewhat knew. He'd been studying it. That doctor from the second one. So I don't think a lot of the people that eventually, when they get to the stranger, if you will, like, what is your pleasure, that they sort of know that something dark and sinister is going to be open if you solve this box. But yet they still keep going.
Well, again, that's the difference between the type of characters we're running. There's the people who are seeking from power or immortality or to know more than any other man. And then there are people who find a puzzle box. You can stumble into it or you can seek it out, but it doesn't necessarily change your fate, just sort of what it means to you. One thing I just have to mention before we wrap this up. The practical special effects.
I'm glad you mentioned special effects.
Most specifically, Frank's resurrection out of the floor. Like, we just watched it the day before yesterday, and it is still rock solid. It looks fantastic. And the whole musculature stuff. That, like, I remember when I was a kid, for some reason, I was just bothered by the blood smear all over the clothes and everything like that. Watching it now, maybe because it was a high-def motion, I was just hypnotized by the musculature and the makeup detail and the glistening gore on them. And you're listening to them like, character is still very important to Clive Barker, so even though this guy is all covered in gore, he's not screaming, he's not like... He still has motivations. He's still this evil Frank. So, for all the reasons we've talked about, enjoy the movie, but for some reason, when we talk about, like, the great special effects stalwarts of the 80s, sometimes Hellraiser gets forgotten. There is the Thing, there is the Fly, there is the Blob, but Hellraiser has some truly great special effects. I just wanted to make sure we hit that.
No, as I said earlier, I remember the first time watching Hellraiser and my jaw hit the floor when Frank gets resurrected. But anytime he's in the movie up until the end, when he finally gets his brother's skin, spoilers.
Oh no. This movie came out in 1987.
I know.
If they haven't seen it, it's kind of on them.
I know. But just the attention to detail of all, like, the epidermis is gone, and it's just all that, the flesh And like my little teenage brain was just like, what is this? I had never seen anything like that. And that, I think that still stands out to this day. It's, you can make references, you know, Hellraiser is taking some, you know, a couple of things from other pieces of literature or other pieces of film, but can you think of another film quite like Hellraiser? Because I can't.
Well, again, if you were just to read the synopsis, this woman's like luring people to be killed by this demonic guy in her house.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like a movie you've seen before.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's usually Clive Barker. Like, you could say that Candyman, like I've said, is just a variation on Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
But that would be doing real short service to Candyman.
Yeah. I do agree that, and it could be the actors' choices along with the directors, but the relationship of Frank and Julia themselves doesn't quite work. I mean, yes, the sex intense and erotic, but
we like neither of them, so we don't care. We know that Frank is evil, and we don't know why she loves him despite this evil, and like there's no reason for her to really even seem to be surprised when he stabs her after all that she's done. Literally rescuing his soul from hell and feeding him victims so that he can take physical form again. And still he kills her with indifference. He's almost disgusted by the fact that she worships him so. But no, there was little impact to that. For me, it was all about Kirsty, Ashley Lawrence's character dealing with this, and she sees that her stepmother is evil. That fairy tale aspect there. Her stepmother is evil, and her father just can't or won't see it. And it's this inevitable destruction of the family.
And he's always making excuses for her as well.
And again, we see this again and again.
What's the daughter's name? Kirsty?
Kirsty.
Yeah, Kirsty's boyfriend also. Poor boyfriend. Like, he's just along for the ride. Getting back to the special effects, there's a great monster in the third act of Hellraiser where it's climbing along the wall, and yes, like you can tell there's a certain robot likeness to it with the jaw moving up and down, but just the look of the creature, it's great.
Well, and it doesn't sort of apply to the rules of your standard body thing. Like, it's got all these sort of flailing appendages, and it doesn't look real or balanced, or it doesn't make sense. Again, I keep going back to Lovecraft. It like hurts your eyes a little bit to look at it. And who knows what kind of things would be in hell.
I also this time, because I think I've seen Hellraiser now 5 or 6 times, and maybe just as it was the medium in which we saw it, the sound was really good. Like, I think
we've had it worked on since, because I'm watching it this time. I agree with you. It looked and sounded better than I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, but there were sounds that I had missed, and that's maybe something when you see something over again, you pick up things. But there's a lot of sort of religious chants at some point. They do the whole cliche of, you know, saying names like over like Kirsty, know your flesh over and over again, which can venture sometimes into parody. Other horror films do it, so that would be another criticism. But this time I just noticed that there were like almost religious-like chants in the soundtrack or in the sound edit that I hadn't noticed before. That was a nice touch.
And this weird breath and just sort of details into it, like obviously because this is a book based off a book that he's written, and he's been really close to the material. Everything has been cared for, and you can feel that. And it still stands as a unique sort of original horror piece. So I'm all on board for Hellraiser.